Hi everybody, I am Alakh Niranjan Singh, a professor of economics for GATE. Earlier I was professor of economics at University of Colorado in the United States, and before that I was in the Indian Economic Service, and I had started my career with Indian Civil Services. So I have been asked a question by my student who is currently preparing for GATE, and the question is like this. It says, a revenue maximizing monopolist requires a profit of at least 1500. Her demand and cost functions are P is equal to 300 minus 2Q and C is equal to 500 plus 4Q plus 8Q squared. Determine her output level and price. Contrast these values that would be achieved under maximum profit. So it asks for two things. First of all, it asks what would be the output and price at the maximum profit, and second, what would be the maximum revenue, not just revenue, maximum revenue when profit is at least 1500. So that is our constraint, that at 1500 what will be the profit maximum, what will be the revenue maximum. So I will first draw the revenue curve so that you understand how to do it graphically, and I will also solve it mathematically so that you learn both ways. And if you forget this mathematics part, you can always go on the graph side. Okay, so with that I start with revenue. Calculating this revenue maximization means where is revenue maximized. So revenue is equal to price times Q, and that becomes P is here 304 minus 2Q. So I multiply it by Q, so 304Q minus 2Q square. As you all know that revenue, or if you don't know, you will learn now that revenue is maximized when marginal revenue is 0. So we calculate marginal revenue. Marginal revenue is just derivative of total revenue with respect to Q. So I set the condition del PQ dQ is equal to 0, and derivative of this is 304 minus 4Q, and that this is equal to 0 because marginal revenue must be 0 for total revenue to maximum. This gives me Q is equal to 304 by 4, which is 76. Means our total revenue curve is increasing and it reaches maximum when Q is equal to 76. So I drew in the graph, and this one is 76, that is the total revenue. Now we have learned one part, and that is this revenue maximizing means revenue will be maximized at higher Q when it is the profit is at least 1500. So I go for profit function. As you all know, profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. So I do that, total revenue minus total cost. So profit pi is equal to total revenue is 304Q minus 2Q square, and cost is here. So minus 500 minus 4Q minus 8Q square. This gives us 300Q because 304Q minus 4Q becomes 300Q, and minus 500 and minus 2Q square and minus 8Q square is equal to 10Q square. So we got this profit function. Now we have to calculate that would be achieved under maximum profit. So it should be here, that would be achieved under maximum profit. So when is maximum profit? For that we take the first order condition, that is d by dq is equal to 0. So derivative of this with respect to q is 300 minus 20q square, because this one has derivative 0, 500. So that gives me q star is equal to 300 divided by 20, which is equal to 15. So what would be the profit at that output? This we calculate profit function is here. This one is the profit function. So 300 times Q15 minus 500 minus 10 times 15 times 15 because it is Q square. So that gives me a profit of 4,500 minus 500 minus 2250, which is equal to 1750. So this solves this part of the question, that what would be the output level and price at the maximum profit. So output level is Q is equal to 15 and price I have not calculated yet, that I calculated below, but if you want I can calculate it now as well. So P star, which is the profit maximizing price, this is equal to P is 304 minus 2Q, which is equal to 304 minus 2 times 15, which is equal to 274. So this is our P star or profit maximizing price. Now for constant to be 1500, we will put the constant 1500 for the profit function. So profit function is 300Q minus 500 minus 10Q square, and that is equal to constant of 1500. So this constant works. So that is the required profit. So I resolve it, bring this 1500 this side. So that becomes 300Q minus 500 and minus 1500, so minus 2000, and then minus 10Q square is equal to 0. So this is again a quadratic equation because this Q square is there and 10 is common in all, though you don't need to divide by 10, but dividing by 10 makes it shorter to calculate. So I divided it by minus 10 because I wanted to put this Q square into positive in the beginning. So I divide by minus 10, this becomes Q square, and this one is plus, so this will become minus, so minus 30Q, and this one is minus 2000, so this becomes minus 2000 divided by minus 10 is plus 200, and that is equal to 0. Now I factorize it. So on factorization I get Q square minus 20Q minus 10Q plus 200 is equal to 0, because this 20 times 10 is equal to 200 and 20 plus 10 is equal to 30. Both are minus, so that way it becomes minus 30Q. Means the sum of these two should be this and product of these two should be this. That is the rule of factorization. After this, I get this Q times Q minus 20 minus 10 times Q minus 20 is equal to 0. So that gives me Q minus 10 times Q minus 20 is equal to 0. So when Q is equal to 20, we get 0. And when Q minus 10 is equal to 0, then we get Q is equal to 10. So at these price, when Q is equal to 10 and 20, profit is 1500. And let me check it. So pi when Q is equal to 20, it is 300 times 20, this is the profit function, and minus 500 and minus 10 times 20 times 20. So that gives us 6000 minus 4500, because this is 4000 and this is 500, so 4500. That is 1500, which was the required constant here, 1500. So at this output, what is the price? The P equation is 304 minus 2Q. So P is equal to 304 minus 2 times 20, that is 264. And what was the P star? It was 274. So that is what we need to contrast. That for the profit maximizing value, the price would be higher, 274 instead of 264, and quantity lower, 15 instead of 20. So why did we choose 20 and why didn't we calculate with 10? Because we know that total revenue has been increasing until Q is equal to 76. So revenue will be maximum at higher the output. So higher the output is, out of 10 and 20, 20 is higher. So that's why I took 20. So at this 20, total revenue is here, say point B, and at 10, this total revenue is at A. I didn't calculate total revenue because it doesn't ask for calculation of total revenue. It asks for only determine her output level and price level. So if you want to check total revenue, you can check that, but it is not asked in the question. So why waste time? Otherwise, we can say that when Q is equal to 20 and P is equal to 274 and total revenue is this one, so I will have to multiply this 304 times 20 minus 2 times 20 square. So that's what we need to do, but we don't have to do. So that's why I am stopping here. Thank you all for paying attention. If you have any questions, please post your question and I will be happy to answer that.